All right, so today we have Steve Khanna. Steve, what are you up to these days?
Yeah, man. Lots of stuff apart from traveling, Jabs. Yeah, we keep running into each other into conferences, but in terms of professional changes and all of that, I left White Press. I've joined now Endorsely. I've gone into the affiliate space, head of growth with Jamie IF. So basically, what we're doing in a nutshell is we let any SaaS tool out there who wants to grow their affiliate program, we ask them to outsource it to us. And then through our fantastic inventory of micro influencers, YouTubers, affiliates, plus the more we keep hiring, we grow their affiliate channel and pretty much get it to 6 times, 8 times their investment, which we ask for in return within, a 6 month and 12-month period. Had some, massive industry names within the SEO sector sign up.
I remember before you got into White Press, you were in the hospitality business. How did this transition happen from hospitality wine business to straight up SEO agency?
The funny answer to that is three Bombay Sapphires with tonic got me into the SEO space. No, long story short, mate. Yeah, I've done restaurants over 20 years back in the UK. Worked with Gordon Ramsay, managed multi-million pound businesses, also a certified wine sommelier. Still do wine masterclasses every now and then. But then moved to Poland 9 years ago because my missus is Polish. I was like, I can't be running restaurants here really because I don't speak the language. Started teaching English, but we've got this really small expat community in the town where I live in Poland. And my ex-boss in Ypress, Tom Domansky, he's an active part of that. So nothing on a Friday evening of gin and tonics and beers. We were sitting there having a chat. He kind of pitched Ypress and SEO. I laughed him out. I remember whispering to the bloke next to me. I said, I don't know what they're talking about. Some stupid SEO or link building. Don't even know what that is. Sounds like black magic. But then he actually, all credit to him. He chased up, did like 5, 6 meetings to try and understand what do I have to sell here. So I was like, if I don't test myself in other sectors now, I'd never have that opportunity. Because if I was back in the UK, I would still be doing hours a week. So I took the leap of faith, but there we go. 2.5 years later, grew the market to substantial levels. A lot of people know about YPress. And of course, on the back of that success, I've now transitioned into to affiliate. So yeah, kind of a longer explanation of how I got into SEO.
That's amazing. What's been a very common mistake that you see sales reps or the sales team from various link agencies or SEO agencies do and should be avoided?
Yeah, it's a two-part answer to that. A lot of the people I speak to actually do not have a sales team at all. They don't even have a sales process in place, and I'm talking some of the top names there. But I don't blame them as well because a lot of people in the SEO space, let's face it, they're all very knowledgeable nerds, fantastic with data, but commercially they're not there too much. So what happens is they try to do a product led sales and they wait for inbound referrals or leads to trickle in. Now that's okay as long as you don't have 2,000 other options out there in the market for the product or service you're giving out. You know it even this year, mate. You talk of link building marketplaces. Every time I blink, there's a new marketplace opening up somewhere. So how do you stand out? What you stand out is highly curated, personalized outbound strategy. And I think a lot of SEO agencies or link building agencies kind of fail in that because link building anyways, let's face it, when you talk of guest posting, link insertions and all of that, that's bottom of the barrel in the SEO space.
Right.
We're the dirt mongers, so to speak. So trust is non-existent. So what you need to do really is it all comes down to human interaction. I've crept out of a cave, but those AI systems where people send out a million email blasts every week. Sorry, mate, it's not going to work. You can clearly see it within 2.5 seconds. It's written AI. And then if you're doing it, it's quite possible 1,000 other blokes are doing it as well. So why would you just suddenly stand out? The only way to stand out is every potential lead, a sales qualified lead you've got or marketing qualified lead, have a good CRM in place to track the stages of where that lead is moving. You need to be on the ball when it comes to what's your outbound strategy, your calling scripts, your email templates, which should be highly personalized. You should be A/B testing it a lot of times then there should be a separate SOP and a strategy when you go into discovery calls. When you're doing demos of your product as well, it needs to be crisp, it needs to hit the pain points. You need to ask the right questions, because anyways outbound is difficult. But if you spend too long circling around a lead which actually is never going to spend because you've never asked the right questions, it's just a car crash waiting to happen. So you need to be very commercially savvy and lead savvy to ask the right question. And I think that's where people miss out, combined with a lot of owners are doing these discovery calls. And I'm sorry, as an owner, and you're so proud of your product, I'm sorry, your ego does play a part in it. You'll say some things which will piss off the opposite party, and you won't even know that's going on. And I've seen it, a classic example. I was discussing it with some people in the Cyprus conference a couple of weeks ago, where you're texting someone on LinkedIn, they agree for a demo, but then people send their Calendly link for the client to book it. I'm sorry, that's never going to work, because then the ego factor comes in. You should be asking them, saying, oh, would next Tuesday or Wednesday at 10 a.m. be okay? Or do you mind sending me your Calendly link and I'll book it? You kind of sucking up to a lot of people, and politely thanking them for giving their time, and these are little triggers in people's psyche, which already pisses people off, which equates into a strategy I've built in for a very long time. And I say that and I preach it and I practice it, is they need to like you. If they like you, they'll trust you. If they trust you, they'll give you their business. Easier said than done, but these little triggers are so important to win someone's, to get a chuckle, to get a smile, to get like, oh, I actually like this bloke. I know he's trying to sell, but he makes me feel good. Is not being overly salesy. So you need to kind of look at those facts. Hence the reason every time I'm on a consultancy call with someone, I ask the owner, who's selling, who's doing discovery calls, who's doing the outbound. 9 out of 10 times they say, I'm doing it. Okay. Have you ever done sales in the past? Never ever. I said, mate, that's why you're on a call with me trying to help you out. So it's quite simple. If you have done sales and you're a CEO or a co-founder, brilliant. You know how the game is. If not, go and find a person who's going to crush it, who knows how sales should be done. I mean, mate, you need so much of tenacity. You need so much of out of the box thinking. You need to come up with angles. But also, what I think sometimes co-founders or good or even sales team in some link building agencies do not do is they do not take risks. The amount of risk a salesperson has to take, you're kind of on the edge of falling down, but not kind of falling off a cliff.
Absolutely. I agree with you 100%, mate. I think anytime someone asks me what's been the biggest mistake that I've made in my SEO career, I would say not hiring a sales head or head of sales earlier in the business. It's a totally different breed. They know how to warm up a cold lead. They know when to sell and when not to sell. They know when to listen and just get to understand the client better. Instead, if the CEO or the owner is taking the calls, ego will definitely come in.
A hundred percent. I have been to certain demo calls while I was at White Press, and I'm not going to name names, but there were a couple of CEOs who were giving me the product demo. Mate, just the body language was pissing me off. Even though the product was amazing, I was like, mate, you shouldn't be doing sales at all. Everything. People are judging you. Is this the right person? Because let's face it, you're an absolute stranger when you're doing cold outbound. For them to even respond to your first message is a win. Then to jump on a demo call is already amazing. But to actually then buy from you, they're revisiting their decisions subconsciously while they're actually listening to your sales pitch or the demo. And demo is where you make it or break it. And I have seen it so many times where people gone in demos or discovery calls, they either end up speaking too much or too less, or they just come across as cocky because, oh, they did this with that case study. Great, but be humble about it. All they do is they end up scaring the other party because you're not summarizing it. They haven't done enough research to the person they're actually selling. Okay, look at, I'll be honest, I don't know, it might sound creepy to a lot of people, but I also know a lot of fantastic salespeople out there outside of SEO who always use these tactics. So if my calling list is, I don't know, 35 calls, I stock the decision maker on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on Twitter, just to try and find a nice, warm, funny angle, which I can use as an icebreaker for the first couple of minutes when I jump on a call. It could be their son might have won in tennis over the weekend. They could have moved to a new house, right? Or they could be, I don't know, Chelsea Football Club fans,
Mm.
whatever that might be, rather than the classic icebreaker. How's it going? How was your weekend? How is the weather? That's not an icebreaker now. That's an ice maker. It freezes, because everyone says that now. That's the
Right,
classic phraseology now.
right.
You got to change it. You got to mix it up. I've sent out emails where someone on the abouts page is talking proudly how they're a big cricket fan in the UK. So my email was talking about Jimmy Anderson and the Lord's Cricket Ground, and then offering a demo was literally in the third mini paragraph on an email. And the guy responded within 7 minutes saying, Steve, that made me chuckle. Please send over your Calendly link. And I wasn't even trying to sell. I was just, yeah, if I'll do it. If it works out, it works out. If not, it doesn't. Another classic example, Cyprus conference with Ypress. So we were looking for local participation
Mm.
and we wanted local people to come in. I simply Googled, who's the local SEO expert in Cyprus? This lady's name popped up, Elena Andre or something. Found out her telephone number through certain tools we use. And I called her. I was like, you know what? I've not done a cold call for the last 4 months. Oh, this is going to be interesting. I'll go in or I'll swim or sing. So I jump in and my team's listening there. And I go, oh, hi, is that the SEO legend, Elena? I've heard so much about you. And Elena goes quiet for 5 seconds. I thought she hung up and she goes, excuse me? I said, I'm joking. Elena, ignore me. She actually laughed. We got on a call 3 days after. She was one of the main drivers of the SEO conference in Cyprus, and it all started with a cheeky, funny sales call. One of the phrases I use and my people in Ypress were using that when we were doing cold outreach to decision makers, our go-to opening one-liner was, let's assume I was calling Jabez, right? Jabez, so sorry, it's Stephen from Ypress. I know we don't know each other. Give me 36 seconds. You can time me if you want. If you don't like it, please throw the phone out the window. And they actually used to laugh about it and they say, oh, yeah, go for it, mate. Why not? And that's all you need. You need 30 seconds to pitch in a clear, concise, impactful manner where every word is leading to a demo. And that's what's required also. So sales is not just about being cheeky, happy, and all of that. It's a game of chess. So the first call is to generate interest. The follow up call is to get them on a demo. And the demo is to send a proposal out. And then the final follow up is to get a yes or no decision. And that's another mistake I see a lot of co-founders or average salespeople do, is they're trying to sell in the first instance. We go to conferences, my Jobs,
Mm.
you and me. There have been so many people. They shake your hand, and half an hour later, they're shoving their services down your throat. And I was like, mate, let me enjoy my gin and tonic. You shouldn't be doing that. You know,
Right.
yeah.
How would you differentiate between the roles of the marketing team and the sales team?
Well, marketing is quite simple. You make sure you get qualified leads in the funnel,
Right.
and the sales is just about making sure they're all being done or accounted for and outreached within the KPI set in a company. Most importantly, if it's a closed lost status on HubSpot, for example, I use
Mm.
HubSpot a lot, you need to put a note out there, what was the reason they did not convert, because that data is so vital for the marketing team in order to then come up with a new content strategy or paid ad strategy when they're doing it. Now, will there ever be peace between the marketing teams and sales teams in every company? Never ever. They are sworn enemies where marketing always claims, I gave them 1,000 leads. And sales turns around and say, mate, 999.9 of shit. So you'll always have that. But if you do it properly and you get a marketing bloke who's actually running the content and the paid ads for you, I think salespeople can really benefit, because it's an ideal world for a salesman to have qualified inbound leads coming. because half of the job is already done. They're interested.
Right.
So you didn't have to do any of that cold outbound shit at all, and get slapped 2,000 times in a week's time. So once you have a warm inbound lead come in, the job's half done. And even if you can't close it, then you're either a shit salesman, or your product or your service needs pivoting. And this is another thing I remember, my first weekly management meeting in White Press. And I told Tom, I said, Tom, give me 3 months. I'll either give you a lot of business or I'll give you a lot of feedback. It's still a win-win. And I think a lot of people don't do that. They don't ask the questions. Why am I not a good fit for your business at this stage? Is it bad timing? You don't have the budget? Is it the quality? You need to ask that question. But if it's done in a right manner, that job is, yeah, I completely respect that. Perhaps bad timing, but can I ask you two more questions before I let you go? Generally, people say, yeah, of course, mate, go on. And then you ask the questions, which are the most important, feed that back into your CRM so marketing picks up on it.
So, what was your process like for qualifying new leads? And how would you determine whether a particular new lead is worth spending all your resources into warming up that lead or not?
Yeah, I'll give you an example of Endorsely for now, because clearly I don't have any other salesperson. I'm the one doing it for now. So for me, it's quite simple. Either through Google keywords or through my referral network, I look at who's got a SaaS tool. Let's assume within the SEO space, I go and look at their product. I look at how much organic traffic or unique visitors are coming to their website every month. I see their pricing structure, because looking at that, I can calculate, would my affiliates in my network be happy to promote that brand at a set, because you need to calculate the affiliate commission. You look at how long though that company has been in the space. Yeah, I mean there's not a lot of rocket science going into it, and then it's just about seeing who can I leverage within my network, who's probably got a connection with that gentleman or lady who runs the SaaS tool, who could perhaps give me a referral. So usually what you do is you go on LinkedIn, you see who are the mutual connections of that contact as a prospective lead. You hopefully figure out one person who would be a good mate. You text that person saying, listen, you know what I'm doing, would you mind recommending me? And if that converts, we can discuss even on a sub affiliate fee. And if it doesn't work out, not a problem. I go back to my templates of personalization and I reach out. On the other hand, if I had to talk about link building as such, again, quite simple, mate. If we were reaching out to brands, then we used to look at their backlink profile. We used to see, okay, what kind of links have gone live within the last 3 months. And if you're in the link building space, you can clearly figure out which one's paid
Right.
and which one's organically won. And if you see enough reference points there that they are clearly buying links,
Mm.
you then go back to LinkedIn, you try and find a decision maker or two decision makers, put it in the funnel, use Apollo or Hunter to scrape the direct email addresses. Sometimes even telephone numbers come up. And then we got a cloud software called VoIP Studio, which records your calls, your conversations, gives you graphical representations, how much effort you've put in. So everything's kind of tracked. And yeah, we get on with it, really. It's all about getting on with it, but obviously making sure that the KPIs are in line. I know a lot of big corpos would say, oh, you need to be doing 80 cold outreaches, which is a combination of could be LinkedIn messages,
Mm.
personalized emails, or calls. You can't personalize 80 every day. That's just stupid. So at White Press, I had an internal KPI of 35 new every day, which was a combination of a personalized email, a personalized LinkedIn message if someone's already connected with you, or calling. And the other thing which also works sometimes, if you're connected with someone and you've had one or two brief conversations in the past, we used to drop a lot of voice notes. And I think voice notes are important. It again ties back into the psychology of trust, because if your tonality, if the words you're using are likable and trustworthy, usually people would respond.
You had a KPI of 35, like it was per member or for the whole the
Per
KPI
member, per
per
member,
member. So
per member.
35 outreach messages per member. What would be a good conversion rate or a good meeting rate?
Yeah. So, anyways, when you're doing cold outbound, irrespective of the sector or the industry, The global average is about 2.3 to 3.1% conversion on outbound, which is challenging anyways. You factor into the link building thing in it, it drops you know. However, we were lucky. We had anything between 14% to 17% answer rates, which was huge. But that only happened due to personalization. Now, if I have to now apply the same logic and give you numbers for Endorsely, you'll probably think I'm bullshitting, but it's actually true. I've got probably over 80% of response rates right now. But there are reasons behind it, because we're not selling links really. It's a lot more value being added. So if you're getting on an average 5% response rates, and if you do the maths, and if you've got three people doing 35 cold outreaches every day, multiply that by 5 working days, that's a fairly healthy chunk in order to put it in your funnel of a discovery call. Sorry, I forgot to mention this. The reason why there was a 35 cold KPI, there were two other inbuilt KPIs. So from 35, you would then have about 15 demos to do in a month. And out of 15 demos, hopefully three or four would close by the end of every month. Now that's a good funnel to have if it's done correctly, especially in the link building space.
3 or 4 clients per month per salesperson is a big number.
It took a while, but people need to see the opportunity and leverage. If I was your salesperson,
Yeah.
I would be using Jabez's name and your case studies so much with your podcasts, with your blogs, just to make my life easier.
How would you go about nurturing these cold leads then? Many times people straight up put them in a newsletter funnel and just keep bombarding with newsletters. "Oh, this is a new case study and this and that." What will be
Yeah,
a
yeah.
healthy, effective way to nurture cold leads?
Yeah, mate. Pretty much a bit of what I said in the last 5 minutes. Now, the worst you can do is put leads in a funnel just to make your KPIs and your numbers look fantastic. And I
Right,
think a lot of people do that. You know, they like to show these graphical representations in their weekly meetings.
right,
Oh, I've got this in the funnel and newsletter and all of that engagement. Yeah, people could be clicking on it as well and might be reading. But if they're not actually signing up or converting, I'm sorry, it's a free newspaper for someone. And we clearly not in the business of selling newspapers. Do you know what I'm saying? So
right,
for me, it's quite simple. In WordPress, our two biggest statuses were SQL and MQL, sales qualified lead and a marketing qualified lead. So if we got off a call, closed, lost, but with the answer that I'm not sure about paid link building at this stage because I'm scared of what Google might do, or seems interesting. I'm talking to other two providers as well, but I'll only make the decision after 3 months. Let's have a catch up call after 2 months. Automatically, they go into our marketing qualified lead. And then they could be hit with carefully laser targeted emails to keep them warm. Yes, you could send them in the newsletter funnel as well. And that aspect is simply to remind them that Steve and Whitepress or Endorsely are still hanging around. But also, very importantly, make sure that you're connected with them on LinkedIn and they are part of your lead funnel and you are engaging with them on LinkedIn till the time your next meeting is booked. It could be commenting on their Twitter thread, could be saying something clever and witty on their LinkedIn post. That's kind of passively winning them. That by the time they get to the call, subconsciously their instincts are already saying, "Oh yeah, they're trustworthy." You know, Jabez, a lot of people
right.
say, especially the decision makers, data is very important for decision makers. But if we are both honest to each other, apart from the data, we all say this a lot. Oh, I need to listen to my gut instinct because my gut instincts never given me pain. Now, how do you generate that gut instinct? Is if you're in someone's subconscious memory all the time. And that's how you make sure that the gut instinct of that person speaks for you as a silent salesperson by doing all those little steps.
Smart. In the sales industry, there is a high rejection rate as well. Even if you get 2 or 3%, success rate, that's big. So that means 90% above, you get rejection rate. How do you coach your team to stay resilient with such a high rejection rate in the sales department?
You can't coach it. You got to lead from the front. The amount of times I have seen fantastic salespeople who go into management position or senior management role, they've stopped engaging with clients. It's like, Jabs, you and me, we both love cricket. It's like the captain of a cricket team stops going out for batting or bowling, but just shouts out and barks out orders or shows data from their data analyst. Sales is something when the doors open, when the bell rings, everyone's doing exactly the same job. And if you are a leader and you're a sales manager based on your past records, well, this is how you keep your people motivated. Not by doing classroom coaching, which for me is important, but we both know the amount of sales experts out there who talk fluff but not actionable advice. So the first thing you can do as a sales leader is make sure you're doing the same calls, setting yourself the same KPIs, and being just with them in the outbound room or outbound calling room, and just hitting the ground running, leading from the front. It's a fantastic place to be when my SDRs pick up what I just said and they start using it and start getting success with their next call. Or I suddenly pick up something what the other SDR and said, that's clever, I'm going to use it. And then I start testing it on the next 5 calls. And by this healthy competition, you suddenly realize the banter in the room goes very witty, and you then keep challenging each other with some more new opening lines and line breakers, which actually bring success. Now, success will still be 2 or 3%, don't get me wrong, but at least when you get all those rejections, rather than people being motivated, we actually have a good laugh about
Right.
it. So the mood never drops. We've had people on the floor laughing when some really clever salespeople are on a call and they've been called, "You're nothing but a sales hooker. Never call me again, please." But it's a good thing to laugh about.
Right. Right.
You got to roll with the punches. If you don't have a thick skin, if you get too dejected about it, then sorry, you shouldn't be doing sales. Having said that, there would be bad days where everything would seem like, oh, it's not going to work. I had a day like that yesterday. I had 2 or 3 rejections. I was like, oh, it's not going to go, it's not going too well. But boom, right at the end, I closed something. We just changed the entire perspective. So it's all about just being in there. Things would be tough. You're up against it anyways when it comes to sales.
Yeah.
Then you add outbound to it. Then you add link building on top of it. So celebrate your little wins. And if you keep that, you'll then keep the motivation levels and commitment levels a lot higher. Don't look at the losses too closely, but examine the wins more closer. So how you can scale that further.
I know, like we talked about setting up the sales department, but there are a lot of freelancers out there who have just started their agency, 1 or 2 people managing multiple roles. What would be your best advice for all these freelancers and small agencies owners right now? How can they best manage their sales department?
Yeah, yeah. I've had few consultancy sessions with them, and I've said the same. I said, tell me how what your structure kind of looks like, even if it's a small agency. They still have 3, 4, 5, 6 people, whatever that might be.
Yeah.
So that requires a bit more digging, because you need to understand: are you one of those early startups who are so desperate for business that you're saying yes to $100 deals or $300 deals? Then clearly it's not going to work, even though you need that much
Mm.
needed revenue and profitability. So it comes down to what your business model is, how you actually priced it, and once your product and service has a really good market fit before you launch, or you pivot a little bit once you've launched, the idea is to your first employee should be a closer. Now, if as an owner you're good at creating lead magnets out there, like on the front end, even if you're doing paid ads, and on the front end you've got a very attractive offer, which looks like a no-brainer as a hook, you bring them in, and then that lead coming in, it becomes the job of either one setter who can then get someone on discovery call, which then goes to a closer. So it could be a combination of one, possibly two. Setters can easily be made paid by the hour. I know there are setters in certain agency who are just paid €10 an hour, and they are paid an X amount of commission for every meeting which they've booked, but the person shows up. Your product will only speak for itself up to a certain point. With so much marketing out there, with so much competition out there, I would say don't do any paid ads. Don't save all that money. Invest in a proper sales guy who's got a bit of a track record, is active on LinkedIn or other social media channels, and understands how sales is done. And because that one person would very quickly, within your first 12 months, bring you above $100,000 MRR rather than pushing three, $2,000, $3,000 down the sinkhole for paid ads.
You recommended a really, really smart way. Just get setups, right? And you can pay them by the hour. So even if you have limited budget, you can just hire setters. That will be a really smart way to get started with a sales guy in your team,
Correct.
right?
Correct. And even you even if you don't want to hire a closer who might cost a bit more, then as a co-founder, because you've not really done outbound and the leads already warmed up by the lead magnet you've put out there,
Mm.
you could test it out yourself and see how that goes. You could take some coaching lessons out there, polish up your non-existent selling skills if you can. Selling is
Right.
also made about attitude and mindset, and if you don't have that, then don't get into sales.
Good. Are there any books, podcasts, or experts that have really impacted your approach towards sales?
I follow quite a few experts on LinkedIn. So there are a couple of people. This Italian fella, let me just bring up his name. I forgot his name. 1 second. Giorgio. I forgot his name. This Italian fella on LinkedIn. He calls himself as the funniest cold caller out there. And I go to some of his cold calling live comedy shows. Mate, it's hilarious. So he sits there. There are like 100 people from around the world who are salespeople like myself. They tune in and they give him stupid things to say when he's cold calling people live. But then there are some things when he puts his YouTube videos. There's one thing he says a lot is, if he was calling you, Jabez, hi, this is Julia or Giorgio from My Sales Coach. We don't know each other, but would I make your Friday morning terrible if I say this is a cold call? Or will you give me 20 seconds so I can perhaps put a smile on your face?
Right.
That's one of his punchlines. And these are the people who you see have got no problems in being slapped down. And of course, he gets a lot of hate as well. But
Right.
then there are a lot of people who are very happy talking to him, giving him the chance to actually sell. He's a cold calling trainer.
Okay.
Lovely fella, lovely bloke. So one him, and there's another guy called George Burton or something. His LinkedIn title says the UK's most hated sales trainer. Again, a funny bloke, really funny bloke. He wears like a Donald Trump cap which says "Make sales great again." Now these are absolute legends, because sales is probably the most difficult thing to do out in the world. One of the top three or five, 100%, But if it's done right, you could work for anyone, mate. It does not matter if you're working in SEO, could be selling aircrafts, whatever. That's what inspires me, because that's setting me up, or any younger salesperson in the funnel, for life. If you're great at sales, you can sell ice to the Eskimos, sand to the Arabs, and all of that. So I would highly recommend, just watch a lot of actual salespeople who are putting themselves out there live on LinkedIn, because that you cannot fake it. That
Mm.
is right there. Not a
Right.
book, because book is edited, proofread.
Right.
Who knows what was going on? So look at those people. These guys absolutely smash it.
Hey, Steve, thanks for your time. What's the best way for our listeners to follow you or stay updated with all your explorations?
Yeah, LinkedIn, mate. I'm the most active on LinkedIn. Very easy to find. You'll see my profile picture with a bloke with a chain in his mouth. So not easy to miss out. And yeah, anyone, I'm happy to give back to the SEO community, because I'm still very thankful. I was accepted with open arms, and I'm in the inner sanctums of the SEO world within what 2.5 3 years. So for me, it's giving back. Someone texts me with help, wanting to answer some questions, I'm very happy doing that.
Amazing. Thank you so much for your time, Steve. Appreciate it.
Pleasure. Cheers, guys. Thank you.